I've heard a lot of people talk about their high school experiences, and for the most part, it sounds like it was a pretty lethal time. For most people, just didn't have a great time. Mine was exactly the opposite. It was the best time of my life. It was a unique school, nothing like my junior high school. The high school that I went to, you actually had to be accepted into based on your grade point average, and it wasn't a neighborhood. It was not a neighborhood school. It encompassed areas from all over the metropolitan Detroit area. So we had a wide variety of students there. Racially, it was probably a 45-55 split. Everybody got along because it was a college preparatory school. So we had different divisions or curriculums. I was in the art department, or more specifically, fashion illustration. There was a group called Chem Bio, which was chemistry and biology. Air conditioning and refrigeration was another area. There was just, everything was broken down by categories so that you would get the college preparatory courses that you needed in order to better be accepted in colleges of your choice. So, as I said, it was a wide variety. In the art department, we had a few strange characters. I remember this one guy we used to call Tie Man, not because he wore a shirt and tie, but because he would wear probably around 25 to 30 ties at a time. Everywhere except for around his neck, around his head, his arms, his legs, his waist. That was his thing. He just wore ties. There was another girl who I remember, a very cute girl, very attractive, but she wore a cowbell, a big, huge cowbell as her necklace. I guess she wanted to let everybody know when she was coming. But I mean, it wasn't unexpected in our department. But there was one girl in particular who made no bones about it. And you have to remember, this was in the 70s. Everything was still we thought we were sophisticated. It wasn't as loose and wild and over the top and trampy as it has gotten. But there was one girl who was a professional. She made no bones about it. Her mother was in the profession, what we used to call ladies of the night. And her mother was a professional, and she had brought her daughter into it. And she would wear to perform business later on in the evening. She would, sometimes, and they weren't, like I said, like they are now, just just totally revealing everything. She wears things like this is high school, turtleneck dress, floor-length turtleneck dress with a slit up to there, and even there. And then the following day, she would come in with maybe a V-neck dress that was V-necked all the way down to her waist, and skin tight. And that was just her. And the big, huge curly hair. Very 80s. Even though this was in the 70s, she was ahead of her time. But these big curly wigs and so forth, and she just it didn't look like she was trying to entrap anybody. It just looked like she was really, really, really overdressed for school. But great personality, fun person to be around, and this was just the type of the classmates that I had. I had come from a junior high school that after school you could count on at least 4 fights to deal with. It was like the entertainment, after school entertainment. You got to choose from which fight you wanted to see, because like I said, there was at least 4. But when I got to the high school, this particular high school, there were none. I remember seeing, in the 3 years that I was in high school, there was one altercation in a lunchroom once between 2 guys. And the third guy actually walked up and told them to break it up. This was not a teacher. It was not someone in authority. He just came over and told the two to stop, and they did. And I thought, wow, this would have never happened in my junior high school. They would have jumped him. So, things were quite different at my high school. Maybe it's because everyone was technically there to learn. So, I feel bad for you all that had a lousy experience in high school, but hey, mine was great.